It was a Friday night in June 1956, and Wells's restaurant on 7th Avenue was vibrating with the kind of energy that could light up a city block. The air smelled of fried chicken, expensive perfume, and ambition. In the center of the room, holding court like a prince who had just inherited a kingdom, was Marcus the Peacock Gable. Marcus was new money. He was loud, he was brash, and he was wearing a suit that cost more than a Cadillac. It was a custom-tailored Italian silk masterpiece, a shimmering, electric blue sharkskin that seemed to change color under the chandeliers. It wasn't just a suit. It was a flag. Everyone in the room knew where it came from. It was a gift from the Genovese family, a signing bonus for Marcus agreeing to push their product in central Harlem, bypassing the local hierarchy. Marcus was parading his betrayal around the room, buying drinks, laughing too loudly, slapping backs and bragging about his new friends downtown. "The Italians appreciate talent," he was saying to a table of young hustlers. "They treat you like family." At 9:15 p.m., the atmosphere in the restaurant shifted. It wasn't a sound, it was a drop in pressure. The laughter died out, the clinking of silverware stopped. Heads turned toward the entrance. Bumpy Johnson had arrived. He wasn't flanked by an army. He walked in with just one man, but he moved with an air of authority that made the room feel suddenly small. Bumpy was dressed in a conservative, dark charcoal suit, understated and immaculate. He looked like a judge. He looked like an executioner. He locked eyes with Marcus across the room. Marcus froze, a glass of champagne halfway to his lips. The electric blue suit suddenly felt very heavy. Bumpy walked straight to Marcus's table. He didn't rush. He moved with the inevitable momentum of a glacier. When he reached the table, he didn't flip it, he didn't shout. He simply stood there, looking Marcus up and down with a look of profound disappointment. "That's a beautiful suit, Marcus," Bumpy said. His voice was soft, but it carried to the back of the kitchen. "Milanese silk, double-breasted, hand-stitched. Very expensive." Marcus swallowed hard, trying to summon his bravado. "Yeah, well, Bumpy, times are changing. A man's got to dress for the position he wants." "The position you want," Bumpy repeated, tasting the words. "And what position is that? The house pet?" Before Marcus could answer, Bumpy moved. It was a blur of motion, too fast for the eye to track. In his right hand, a straight razor appeared. Not a weapon, but a surgeon's instrument. It was known as the cheetah on the streets because it struck before you saw it coming. Bumpy stepped into Marcus's personal space. He didn't slash at Marcus's throat, he went for the collar. Zip. The sound of razor-sharp steel slicing through silk was sickeningly loud in the silent room. The lapel of the electric blue suit fell away, severed cleanly from the jacket. Marcus gasped, throwing his hands up, terrified that he had been cut. But there was no blood. Bumpy hadn't touched the skin. "They didn't give you this suit because they respect you, Marcus," Bumpy said, his voice calm, rhythmic, accompanying the movements of the blade. Zip, slash. "They gave it to you because they own you." The razor danced. It was a display of virtuosity that was terrifying to behold. Bumpy sliced the seams of the shoulders. The sleeves detached and slid down Marcus's arms, leaving him holding his champagne glass with cuffs that were no longer attached to a coat. Bumpy moved around him, the razor flashing under the lights. He cut the back seam. He sliced the belt loops of the trousers. "You wear their colors, Zip. You follow their orders, slash. You are walking around my Harlem, wrapped in a bribe." In less than 60 seconds, the Italian masterpiece was destroyed. It lay in ribbons on the floor, a pile of expensive blue confetti. Marcus stood in the middle of Wells's restaurant, shivering, not from cold, but from shock. He was standing in his boxer shorts and socks, the ruins of his vanity pooling around his ankles. He wasn't bleeding. There wasn't a scratch on him. But he had been flayed. Bumpy had stripped him of his armor, his status, and his dignity without spilling a drop of blood. The room was deathly silent. The peacock had been plucked. Bumpy folded the razor and slipped it back into his pocket with a smooth, practicing motion. He looked at the shivering, half-naked traitor with pity, not anger. He snapped his fingers. From the shadows near the door, an associate walked forward carrying a bundle. Bumpy took the bundle and threw it at Marcus's feet. It wasn't a suit. It was a heavy, gray wool coat, rough, worn, with a patch on the elbow. It was the kind of coat worn by the dock workers, the janitors, the men who built this city with their sweat. A working man's coat. A Harlem coat. "You want to be a big man?" Bumpy asked, looking down at him. "Then you wear the clothes of a free man. You wear the clothes of your people. If you want to wear that Italian silk, you go downtown and shine their shoes. But here, in my house, we don't wear the livery of the slave master." He pointed to the door. "Put it on and get out." Marcus, tears of humiliation streaming down his face, scrambled to pick up the rough wool coat. He pulled it over his shaking shoulders. It was too big, scratching his skin, smelling of hard work and honest labor, scents he had tried to forget. He looked like a beggar. He looked like a child. He ran out of the restaurant, clutching the old coat around him, leaving the shreds of the electric blue suit on the floor. Bumpy kicked a piece of the blue silk aside as if it were contaminated. He turned to the room, to the stunned patrons who had just witnessed a ritual sacrifice. He adjusted his own tie, smoothed his jacket, and signaled the waiter. "I'll have the chicken," Bumpy said, sitting down at the table Marcus had just vacated. "And get the band to play something with a little soul. We've had enough foreign influence for one night." The band struck up a tune. The conversation slowly returned, but the tone had changed. The young hustlers at the next table looked at the pile of blue rags on the floor, and then at Bumpy Johnson, eating his dinner with the grace of a king. They learned a lesson that night that no amount of money could buy. Dignity isn't what you wear. It's who you are. And in Harlem, you didn't sell your soul for a suit, because Bumpy Johnson would make sure you ended up naked.